This is Bill Strand, your host of the Reptile Entrepreneur Podcast. What you are seeing here appears to be a slice out of the Amazon rainforest. In reality, this entire enclosure is the work of herpetoculture artist Ron Rundo of Snakescapes Design. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Ron and talking with him about his journey in the reptile world. But first, I'd like to show you some of his work, and then we'll bring him on.
Hi, I'm Ron from snakescapes.com. I just wanted to share with you one of my latest pieces. This is a custom insert made for an emerald tree boa that fits inside a 35-inch wide enclosure. Hand sculpted and painted and signed by me.
Hello, reptile entrepreneurs. I am here today with Ron Rundo. You may know him, there he is, as Snakescapes. Now, you may be wondering what Snakescapes is, and so we're going to get into that. Ron, welcome to the podcast.
Welcome. Thank you, Bill.
Now, behind you, you have a gorgeous Amazon basin emerald tree boa. Can you tell us a little bit about that enclosure?
This is called the Total Habitat, and it's where I build the whole environment. I design the enclosure itself. I design the heating system, humidity, dramatic lighting, the whole thing. It's like all you have to do is plug in, add snake and water.
Okay. Where do you find all of those vines and those ledges and that rock face that are in there?
I make everything. I use epoxy, the same epoxy used in zoos and aquariums for their exhibits. This stuff has been around a long time. I'm just manipulating it my way.
So everything in that cage, except for the snake, is made by you?
Yes.
And even those leaves, they're
everything.
Created
Everything.
And painted?
Yes.
How in the world were you able to make it look so lifelike?
Well, I'm an artist. I have a background in sculpting and painting. And since I was a little kid, I was always into snakes and trying to design and create the ultimate home for them. And so it's just been an ongoing process since I'm 10. But in 1987 is when I really started to develop this concept of snakescapes, and to design a system that works. Because like many hobbyists, me included, early on, we find it difficult to maintain the heat, the humidity, so that for their shedding and other things, So this, finally, I came up with a system that actually works. You just keep adding water. It creates more humidity. The heating system is I didn't design the component, but I created the way it works.
Okay. Now, I want to get back to the cage, but first, I'd like to talk about your background as an artist. How did you, let's just explain to the audience what it is you do for a living.
I sculpt and I paint. I do a lot of wall sculpture, a lot of paintings, murals and stuff, but this is really where I want to go, because like this Total Habitat is my baby. I for lack of a better term, I kind of invented this whole thing, and I'd like to see myself as and it is happening, where I have clients around the country, around the world, for my perches and inserts, but I'd like to get the Total Habitat up and running. Find myself working with serious hobbyists, collectors, museums, and zoos. That's ultimately the goal.
Okay, now what was the timing like between you being a professional artist and deciding to work on this snakescapes?
Well, I started this in '87, this concept, and I made numerous enclosures, and they may have looked nice, but none of them worked, the way I wanted them. So it wasn't like I did it every day, because my art, my painting, took up my time. But always in the back of my head, I was like, well, what could I do for this? And slowly but surely, it started to come together. And I'd say about 10 years ago, I just launched this, I just got this idea about perches and stuff. So I launched this thing, and slowly but surely it started to pick them up. In the beginning, I couldn't give them away, because the reptile world is into going in the backyard and cutting down a branch, or Home Depot PVC pipes. But this here, it's on par with that PVC, the plastic, the sterile, because this is all it's plastic, rubber, and glass. That's a sterile environment, although it looks like this. Looks as detailed as I can create is what I go for.
So what was the inspiration? Did you start making vines, branches, and inserts and then decide to make a whole cage? Or did you want to make an entire cage from the beginning?
I wanted to make the enclosure from the beginning.
Okay.
But then I started to get people interested in perches and inserts. And so I went in that direction. And so now that's coming along rather well. And so I'm just following. I'm open to creating, everything I can. Yeah, anything. I'm only limited by my imagination.
Well, let's get a rundown of just what that enclosure is. What are the dimensions and what comes with it?
This is the entire unit is 81 inches tall. Okay. And on the bottom, the living space is 48 by 26 by 20. And then below that is the closet where I put my maintenance kit, or if there's a misting system and stuff like that. That all goes in the bottom, and then it's all hosed in and wired into the unit, the lights and stuff. Yeah.
And if someone was interested in one of these, what would it run?
The freestanding piece, this piece here, starts at 10.5.
Okay. And then beyond that, you offer the inserts and the branches and the vine.
Well, beyond that, it's custom. I can create, if you want to incorporate this into a bookcase, a wall unit. I design all the furniture. Let's say I have a serious craftsman who builds it all for me. I send him the blueprints, he builds it, and then I just do my thing inside. And then what it basically is a museum exhibit at the end of the whole thing. Yeah. So this is just a start from this, to start at a point. This is it. But then it could go to anything.
Okay. And I know that you do pieces as well. So if somebody already has an enclosure, they can still get your artistry within that enclosure that they have.
Yes. Just provide the, what it is you're looking for, be it a perch or an insert, background insert. I just need the interior dimensions. I do my thing, and so far, haven't had any real complaints.
Oh no, I've taken a look at those things. They are absolutely gorgeous. And now, did this all come from a love for, say, emerald tree boas or a certain reptile?
Well, it all started with the emerald tree, because in school there was this book that had a picture of what was called an emerald tree boa. But it turned out like years later because I had a few emerald trees, and I said, they don't look like this. In the end, it turned out to actually be a basin. But this was when I was in school in the 70s, so I guess I don't really know the history of the basin, but they weren't calling it the Amazon basin. They were calling it an emerald tree boa in this book. And so I just got me thinking. I just think they're one of the most awesome snakes, really. And so it just stemmed from that. But being an artist, I was able to, combine both passions, my art and my hobby. And this is the result.
Okay. How long does it take you to make one of these? Let's just start with one of the inserts that you make. And an insert, I mean, you do either a background or what do you call it, the branches?
Yeah, the purchase, yes.
The purchase.
The branch, yeah.
How long does it take to make those?
Oh, bro, they're like 10, 12, 15 hours.
Okay.
It takes like an hour or two to compose, and then a series of the armature that no one sees, so there's no bowing or sagging. Early on I had a few issues, but then as I got into it, I discovered the best armature and stuff, and then you sculpt the epoxy. So all the detail that peeling bark, texture, mushrooms, fungus, everything you could just sculpt with this epoxy. And then painting. Sometimes painting these things, man, it takes like 5-8 hours just painting, because that's when you make the sculpture come alive.
Yeah, they are so intricate.
Thank you.
So say I had a cage that is 2 foot wide by 48 inches high. Mm-hmm. How would if I wanted to get one of your backgrounds for this, what would be the process?
Well, you give me the interior dimensions, and then is it either a top opening, to feed the insert into the enclosure? Can I feed it through the top or through the face of it? And if it's been, with either front or top, are there any restriction? Is the face plate smaller than the actual interior dimensions? I need to know all this stuff, and then from those measurements, I sculpt this up. And if it's so that the face plate, and the face plate is non-removable, nor is the top, I could build the insert in a way where it comes in pieces. So then you get it, and then you reassemble it like you're building a model, like a model jungle kind of thing.
Okay. How long does that take from placing the order until it's done?
Well, at the moment, I'm booked until January.
Okay.
So here and there, if there's a small window of time between projects, I can jump on a single insert or two, but when it comes to stuff like this, like this project here, post getting the actual enclosure, it took me about almost 6 weeks to create everything to where it was ready. Wow. Yeah. So they take time, but I found that awesomeness is the main ingredient. Functionality first, of course, but the awesomeness is what makes the hobbyist like, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? So, and I'm like that. I just want to like my background in art, my sculpture, my painting. I painted miniatures with incredible detail. So my eye is really detail oriented. So when it comes to this stuff, this is all out of my head. I don't look at the jungle or whatever. I do hike. I go into the wilderness in Florida and the Everglades and stuff like that, or wherever I go, and those things I look at feed my imagination. But when it comes to this actual work, I just create it out of my head.
Okay. So at this point, how much of your business is Reptile World and how much is normal people world?
Well, I'm doing mostly this these days, which is really my goal. I do wall sculptures and paintings when the work comes in, but I'm being really selective with it these days because lifestyle of an artist could be feast and famine, and especially in New York, it could be rather tough. So for many years, I would take all the kind of work I could get. Mm-hmm. But now with this, like the work is coming to me, so it's like
Okay.
pretty awesome. Yeah, yeah, and I love it. I really enjoy this more than anything because I made it up. I made up each and every step, application, you know. So from 1987 to present, that's a bunch of years to trial and error and make mistakes and all of that. But here we are today, and I have things that actually, you know, they really work. And they look
Okay.
cool. And the snakes are happy. Hey, listen, you know, my guy, he's awesome.
Yeah, I've seen a number of videos and pictures. He looks great and healthy. So your goal is for this to be your main source of income. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
And you have right now it's built around one main product and custom work for other people's enclosures. Is that correct?
Well, it's a few products because you have, as far as the inserts go, there's different types. There's a 2-point insert, then there's 3-point. The points are the points of contact. So there would be a main, which is 2, and then the third one to give it some nice support. Or if you have a really big enclosure, I can create 4-point inserts and fill up as much of the interior space as I can, you know, leaving enough room between the insert itself and the radiant heat panel and the bottom, so where your water bowl is. But it's basically like a jungle gym for these snakes, you know, because at night I watch this guy all the time. You know, when he's hungry, he's all over this thing, and it's just so cool to see. I dim the light. It's like jungle. You see him hunting, and it's, you know, that's what I love. You know, that's what I love about these guys. I don't know why I'm fascinated. I just am.
Well, you see that cute little green Cinnabon muffin sitting there all day, and then at night it uncoils, and it's just an incredible dragon slinking around that cage.
And then he gets into the hunting posture, and it's like, whoa, you know, I mean, I feed him frozen, thawed, you know, but still, he still gets in that hunting posture, and it's like, wow, just, you know, can't get enough.
So is this present structure where you have one main product and you do, I'd say custom building work, even though you have the standard points. Is this the model that's your goal?
This is the model, yes. I mean, the design of it is I think it's cool. I think it fit as a freestanding piece. Yes, that's the first model.
Oh, okay. So what I was getting at is, do you plan on expanding your standard offerings, or will you always be here's my 1 or 2 cages, and then you have a lot of custom work that you do?
Oh, no. Hey, listen, I'm only limited by my imagination. If the client has some specifics, their own specs, we could work it out, you know, because I've also, you know, clients would contact me and ask me for what it would look like. So I create graphics or drawings to show you, give you a basic, like, this is where we're going. If I'm going to design a unit, if I was going to design a bookcase, I build it all for you on the computer so you see what you're getting. So there's no, like, surprise kind of thing.
No surprise.
Yeah. But I mean, it is custom. I keep it custom. I don't draw from, you know, supply of branches or anything like that. Everything starts from step 1 to completion. Yes.
And so each one of these works, even you have a standard product of that cage behind you, but you're saying that each one is still done custom?
Oh yeah, each one is different. No two are alike. I mean, what is standard is the model, the 81 by 26 by 20, and the design of the actual enclosure. The interior is always going to be different.
Okay.
You know, because whatever I'm going to sculpt up, again, I don't draw from any kind of supply and just, stick this in here. Everything is started from a bunch of supplies. I sculpt them up, skin them, epoxy them, more sculpture, paint. Yeah. That's what makes them so much fun. Because every single insert I've made is started from scratch. Every one is different from the other.
And how has the response been from the reptile community?
So far, so good. I mean, it's become, again, in about 10 years ago, I couldn't give them away. Now, it's been a process, but slowly but surely, bumps in the road happen. But it's happening. It's definitely happening.
What do you think has changed?
Well, I think that, like, some of the snake prices, for example, I mean, today we have designer snakes. When I was a kid, there really wasn't that thing. 10 years ago, it was coming into play. 15 years ago, whatever. I don't have the exact timeline of when designer snakes came into play, but here they are. I mean, you can buy snakes for thousands of dollars for a baby snake. Basins, bullin, pythons, chondros. Oh, brother. So with that happening, I wanted to create something that was custom made for just these guys, these high-end, beautiful designer snakes, figuring that if the hobbyist is willing to pay thousands for the snake, well, they might enjoy something that matches the beauty of that snake. It's like my works of art are created for these living works of art. I'm inspired by them.
I've noticed a trend. It's a very encouraging trend that there's less collecting. Obviously, there's a lot of collecting going on in the reptile community, but we're having more of a demographic of people who are concentrating on the beauty of one gorgeous reptile and focusing in on that. And this is just perfect for that type of person.
Yes.
Now,
well, the concept is like this. You could go into a lawyer's office, let's say. You go in there and you see this beautiful aquarium, custom woodwork around it, wall unit, bookcase. It's the same concept, but for snakes, where I can create the woodwork and then an incredible functioning interior. The main thing about this is, it looks cool, but it works. The humidity, the heating system, and it breathes. It's taken me a while, but I've discovered a way to have a unit that breathes and at the same time holds heat and humidity. This guy's happy. There's no I don't have to take him out and soak him in a bucket or any of that stuff. I mean, the misting system is all you need.
So how much does this enclosure come with? Heating and humidity?
It comes with the entire system. It comes with everything you need. That's why the price tag is $10,500. It's not just the art. It's not just the wooden enclosure. When I say wooden, the exteriors, but the interior, it's all 100% waterproof. There's no leaking. It's escape proof. It's an exhibit. This is
truly the museum quality, right?
Correct. Yeah. You put this thing in your office, your home, not in your basement where you got a tank with a screen and a big light over it that you like. You know what I mean? This is taking it to another level. As snakes have come, the hobby of snakes, the designer snakes, the hobby itself has come to a whole new level. And I just wanted to do something along with that.
Now, we've talked a lot about snakes. Has there been interest in other reptiles in your enclosures?
Basically, just snakes. Okay. I have a great project coming up where I create a bamboo thicket for a giant gecko. So I'm doing a few things for lizards. Yeah, so that, at a later date, maybe I could share that with you when it's complete.
Oh, definitely. I'd love to see it.
It's going to be, oh man, it's going to be awesome. Because to create these things, you're not like looking in a box. You don't get that feeling. I mean, where the camera's set or whatever, you don't really get it. But when you're looking at this thing, and the room might be dark, and just the light of this unit is on. Oh man, it doesn't look like you're looking into a box where there's just a back and then flat. This
Right.
unit has dimension. Your eye travels in it, and I create these effects that your eye gets lost in a bit, where it's like you're looking behind a tree, but you're not, because it's all in a box, but it doesn't look like it. It's the illusion. You know, it's like I cut out a piece of the jungle and stuck it in one of these things.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about you being an artist in the reptile world. How is it? And let's talk to the artists that are now in the reptile community thinking about doing something like this, whether it be any sort of the art, whether it be drawings, paintings, sculpting. How hard is it, or what advice can you give to artists wanting to start off?
Well, it can be challenging as an artist to get work. Oftentimes, you know, what I was sharing with you before, living in New York, oftentimes it was like staring up into the clear blue sky and trying to find work. It's hard, it's challenging, but you have your own unique something, your own you, whatever it is that you as an artist have, you take that and you try to get it out. Our paths are all different. It's like, how do you get it out? How do you get the word out? Well, today, you know, there's social media, which I didn't have. You got Facebook, you got Instagram, Twitter, Tweeter, all those things. But when I first started, I started in graffiti in the 70s. Painting subway trains and stuff. I think the statute of limitations is over, so I can't get in trouble now.
7 years.
So from the 70s, but then when I actually started working as an artist in 1990, I started doing postage stamps. I illustrated postage stamps for almost 20 years. You know, photorealistic, real detail-oriented pieces, portraits of specialty and stuff. And then I just kept going out and exploring. I didn't limit to one thing. You know, if there was work over here, I would create that work to get over there and get work. But the reptile thing was just, the snake thing really was just always on my mind. How do you, and what do you use to create these different elements? What's the medium? I didn't even know what to ask. I thought it was fiberglass initially, but definitely not. Until one day I saw an article in Smithsonian Magazine about the construction of the Congo exhibit at the Bronx Zoo. And I noticed that they weren't wearing respirators in the picture. And in those days, in that magazine, they actually gave you, you know, the name of the person in charge of the project and a phone number at the end of the article. I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh, wow.
I called, and the person that I wanted to speak to answered the phone. And she told me this and that, and I was like, oh, brother, man, I went and I purchased the epoxy. And it was from then on, because the epoxy is like, it's like the consistency of peanut butter. And if you can sculpt it up and create in a series of applications, you know, when it hardens like a cement plastic kind of thing.
Okay. And so
I know I went off on your, made a left turn with your question.
No. Go ahead. It's these unexpected turns that turn out to be the most interesting.
Yeah. What got me to really use that medium too, because I discovered the medium, and I launched a few attempts to get work within the reptile community early on in the 80s and the 90s, but I lost my shirt. But in the interim, I gained some knowledge on the use of this epoxy, and then that's what got me into making these wall sculptures. And I started getting working with interior designers, and I do these huge wall sculptures and stuff. But always in the back of my mind was this sort of thing. And slowly but surely, I found a way to combine the art and the passion, the hobby, and that's pure joy. You know, if you could, for me, it's just, man, nothing else matters when I'm doing this stuff. I get lost for like the day, 15 hours of a day is gone. And it's like, oh brother, where'd that time go? Because I'm so into this stuff, you know, all the detail, everything, nothing's by accident, even a little tear in a vine. None of it is accidental. It's all sculpted out. Everything is with a purpose.
Okay. And how long did it take you to develop this concept? I mean, with all of the environmental systems, and it seems like there's a lot that goes into the final piece.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, like I said, I started in '87, and you know, every once in a while I came up with something, but it failed, and then I just came up with something else, and it would fail. It just took all that time until one day I was just thinking, how am I going to do that? And then eureka! I built it on the computer, like all these elements, the way I thought that they should fit together for the humidity in the heating system. And man, I put it together, and it worked. And it works. I mean, I didn't start to share it with anybody online or as a product until I actually knew that it worked. And to see the snake, you know, thrive.
And how did you do that product launch? Once you were ready to go, how did you do that?
I actually started on Facebook and Instagram. And then the next thing, I was going to go into an expo last summer, not this past, but and then Corona hit. And then I was like, oh, brother. So, you know, and then work took off, and these projects are happening. And so, you know, what I'm shooting for, ultimately, the life I imagine is you have your social media and then expos, the main expos around the country. So I see myself, you know, just traveling, doing expos, showing these things off. I have another one I'm building that will make this one look like amateur at best. And so when that's my showpiece,
all right.
And so it'll be my showpiece, and then my other products, the 3-point insert, the 2-point insert, you know, so you can actually feel it and hold these things. They're substantial in weight. You can feel the strength, the construction of these things, you know, because what I find is that oftentimes people don't read like the caption, you know, handmade, something. They think that, whoa, maybe he just went in the backyard, cut down a branch and epoxied it. But it's nothing like that at all, you know. Okay. And then the system itself to look at this, you know, when I in the paragraph I explain what's there, but some people don't really read that. But at an expo, here I am, I'm standing there right in front of this thing, you know, we're here to share it, and I'm imagining that will help the exposure, the opportunity here today with you, and then expos and stuff. Oh man, you know,
I may have not connected it, but how long have you been selling this particular unit?
This guy is only 4 years old.
Okay, so it's relatively recently.
Yeah, right. Because what I did was I built it, and then I just used it for 2 years. Okay. I just wanted to make sure, you know, it just took 2 years to really say, you know what, this thing really works. There's no question about it. So now I can confidently say, hey, listen, I've got this total habitat by Snakescapes. This is my standard model. We start from here, and from here we could go wherever we want.
Ron, looking at the enclosure behind you, there is something special about what you've done there. I know I do a number of enclosures, and I've seen a number of enclosures. What you've got back there doesn't look like a box that has things inside of it. It has depth. It has texture. it really looks like I'm looking into the jungle. Right. How do you manage that?
It took a while and a lot of drawing to compose, like how would you set this piece up inside of a box to throw your eye off from the corners of the box to make it look like there's trees and then there's trees behind trees. It's so over the years I just came up with these effects that throw your eye off. And so you're not, yes, it is a box, but that's not what you see. You see the trees. The vines are placed. Every element is placed strategically in the unit to take your eye and bring it to where I want you to look at. It's like composing a painting. You know, the main part of the painting is roughly in the center, right? Mm-hmm. So when you're composing that, you got all these other things that lead you into the center. So it's the same kind of thing with this. You know, I say where the snake hangs out. I put the main perches right there in front of you, so he's hiding-ish. He's hiding in plain sight. He's comfortable. The animal's comfortable. Obviously, it eats. It does its business. It's healthy. It's thriving. But yet he's sitting right there in front of you. There's really, I find that there's no need to put such tremendous amount of greenery in there that, you know, that you almost, if the snake wants to, he could crawl into that and you don't see the guy. Mm-hmm. You know, but it's all about the outside and then bringing it in. And then there he is. The snake is the center of the piece. He's the main part of the painting.
This is the nexus of so many different arts, including herpetoculture, visual arts, sculpture, painting. This is a masterpiece, and I am glad that we have people like you who are showing the way of quality, and what I'm talking about is a quality experience in keeping reptiles, and beyond just, okay, I've got 10 different species and I'm doing great, but no, having an incredible focused quality experience in herpetoculture, and this is it.
Right. Quality. That is so important. There are no shortcuts. I don't compromise. Oh, I got to get this thing done. No, man. These things are all handled with care. And you could see that. And when you hold these inserts in your hands, you could feel that. You know, it's substantial. So yeah, but that's the thing too. Quality. So many times, how many you buy something that's $1 gazillion and 2 weeks later it breaks? You know what I mean? This is not that. Uh-huh. You know, believe me though, I've found out the hard way. I have made many mistakes, and I improved on those. And so I believe today I'm at that place where this is it. This is the way it's created. These are the things to use. These are the tools. This is boom. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Well, Ron, I thank you very much for coming on and sharing your art and the direction you're taking this. If somebody wanted to contact you, what are the best ways of getting in touch with you?
My email or phone. I have Instagram, which is Snakescapes by Ron. Mm-hmm. You can see that when you go to my page. You see that you can contact me via email or phone. And then Facebook is the same thing. Can I give you that information? You could share it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yes. All of that information will be on the show notes page. And
sure.
So you just go there and you can link to all of these outreaches that Ron has.
Also, you know, I wanted to say with the big projects, I have delivered them myself and did the installation. Every total habitat that's sold, I deliver it. I set it up, and I go over with the person everything you need to know. Show them everything. But you get everything you need. It's not like you buy the tank and then you got to go buy this and go buy that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Everything is in here, right down to the maintenance kit, everything.
So you fly across the country and put it
I
in?
drive.
I
drive
okay.
with a snakescape, with a
Oh,
total
that's right.
habitat. I load it up. I drive it to you. I help. We get it
Wow.
in. We set it up. Boom. I go over everything you need. But I've delivered and installed full inserts. I sculpted out the 6-foot tree and I installed it. And these are cool experiences. This is like what's awesome about it is that I really feel like I found my niche. Like of all the years of art, and I've been at it for over 40 years of my life, learning it and working it. And for me, like, this is it. This is the ultimate. This is so much fun. And to
You found
find
where
a
you
place,
belong.
yeah, man, to find a place that I could do my thing and people like it and they want it, oh man, that's everything. It really is. It's really wonderful, and I have fun doing. Yeah. I mean, sometimes I don't even have the words to express the joy. You know what I mean? If you could bottle this feeling, this ability, and all, this is it. Yeah.
This is, on this podcast, I get a lot of that, of people who have found where they belong, who just found what makes them happy. And that's really a core foundation of why I'm doing this podcast, is because so many of us are finding that joy and fulfillment working with reptiles, some aspect of the reptile community.
Yeah. And listen, ultimately, I also have a preference for anacondas, the big snakes.
Oh, okay.
So, I just don't focus on the arboreal. I can create for any snake, any kind of habitat, venomous. There's a whole construction that goes on for the venomous snakes, maintenance in mind. So, there's nothing dangerous about opening it up and, oh my gosh, it's all thought out. But to build one of these things for like an anaconda or anything, oh man.
All right, Ron, thank you very much for coming on and sharing. And anybody who wants to get in contact with Ron, go to the show notes at reptileentrepreneur.com, and you're going to find all the contact information. And if you are in a position you want to get something absolutely gorgeous for your reptile, well, this is the place to come. All right, Ron, thank you very much.
Hey,
and
thank
we'll
you, Bill.
See you around.
Thank you for the opportunity. Bye now.